you have Sabre powers American Airlines booking engine. So now we have the affordability to have that distribution network of still authenticating all of these prepaid channels, but then we also provide our own. To the same point, we have our own mobile payment system now. So that's on-site payments, where before we were partnered with Park Mobile, Pay by Phone, Honk. These are probably applications you might have paid or transacted with parking. So now we ingest all of that, but then we can also offer it as part of our product offering.
Very helpful. One thing I want to point out is, on a personal level, what I love about emerging growth companies in Texas is there's this blend of tech savvy with Texas culture. And George here wearing some nice cowboy boots. Tell us a little about your next venture here.
Yeah, so Ruho Boots, it's a company that I invested in 2021. It started in 2020. Two leather tradesmen for 30 years selling into Western wear, from boots to saddles. Their clients were Lucchese, Tony Lama, Eric, Cody James, Tecovas. So they've been selling leather goods into these vendors. When COVID hit, all of their vendors slowed production. So they had a lot of leather stock at these factories. So 80% of the world's boots are made in 4 factories in Leon, Mexico. It's a very similar to that of like the tequila or bourbon kind of craze that you're seeing. But Western wear is a $130 billion market, growing at a 10% CAGR on a 5-year horizon because of pop culture. You've got Beyonce singing country music, and you've got Cole Hauser on the other side kind of with entertainment. Nonetheless, boots have gone from utility, farming, and ranching into fashion. The 2 largest growing markets are New York and California, believe it or not. So as I started looking at the business, it's like, and they finished 23 with $5 billion in sales and sold over 10,000 boots. And I was like, oh my God, like, and I started getting bored as chairman. I don't get to run the business. It just kind of, we meet quarterly, and I'm a builder, I'm an entrepreneur, and I just love driving teams and innovation. So as we speak, I've got tailwinds of Western growing. There's digital transformation in retail. Retail as it once was is dead. Direct-to-consumer commerce is growing at an incredible rate. So get my hands dirty again and moving the business to exotic leather goods and building a modern Western brand around it.
That's great. That's great. And again, the name?
RuhoBoots.com.
Ruho Boots.
RUHO. Promise you it's the most comfortable boot that you'll wear. I didn't own cowboy boots. I hadn't worn them since high school. And so as I was doing diligence at 23, I tried them on. I was like, okay, all right, there's a real opportunity here.
That's great. Well, George, impressive company. Thanks for an impressive background also, and thanks for spending time with us.
Glad to do it. Thank you.
Thank you again, Ben, George. We appreciate your time. George, if you don't mind, we're just going to get a quick pick with our board while we change out, while we add more seats, because we have one more discussion here for our AI panel, and then we're going to conclude with our networking session. So if our board members can just come up to the front, we'll have a quick pick with Ben and George here, and then we're going to add 2 more seats for our AI panel. I know y'all are excited about that. So while we do that, we'll snap a quick pick. Thank you.
I can.
On?
Live.
Huh?
Live.
Okay, okay, I just want to make sure.
Sorry.
Oh, he's okay. Oh, there he is. Okay, great.
Every event.
Great. Well, thank you again, Ben and George, for that conversation. So, at this time, as we close out today's event, thank you again to everyone for being here. Our AI panel now we're going to call on stage. It's going to provide you with thoughts on the nuances of AI and how each panelist. So the great thing about the panel that we have today for our AI panel, each of our panelists represent different sectors and different industries. So they're going to talk about how each of their sectors and industries are really getting into the weeds of AI and incorporating AI. So at this time, I'd like to welcome to the stage the panel's moderator, Eli Feldman, who's the Chief Technology Officer of EPAM. And joining Eli, we have with us today Ripple Vias, co-founder and managing director of 12-Fold Studio, David Evans, managing partner at Sentiero Ventures, and Gopal Shugavanam, VP of Data and AI Practice Head at Infosys. Eli, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. So, as was mentioned, we do represent sort of a very diverse set of capabilities within the AI space, and we'll try to make this a little bit more conversational, a little bit more practical, I guess, a little bit deep dive, if you don't mind, in some of the areas, just to make it a little bit more tangible for everyone in terms of what AI actually is. And before we start, I guess quick introduction so we actually explain who we are.
So thank you for inviting me. Glad to be here. My name is Ripple Vyas. I have been in software industry since past more than 2 decades. Founded a company called Software Solutions, which became one of the biggest IoT and AI consulting company. I grew that company to about 800 some engineers. Got bought by Avnet, which is a Fortune 100 organization. I was digital division VP global over there. And then currently I am founder and managing partner at 12-Fold AI Studio. And we focus on building generative AI startups, right? And there are 3 startups that we have launched this year. One is an Atri AI, which is an enterprise AI engine and a solution company. The other one is Sensius AI, which is about AI observability, end-to-end. And we can talk about it about that one. And then the third one is merging geospatial data with AI, and that is Location Matters. So those are 3 startups that we are heading right now.
David?
Hello everyone, David Evans, managing partner, Sentiero Ventures. We're a early stage venture capital fund focused on AI-enabled startups delivering applied AI to the enterprise. Personally, I'm a technologist, entrepreneur, and investor. Started coding at 14, started my first business at 19, sold my third business 9 years ago before moving over to the other side in venture capital. Along that way, I've been doing AI and ML since the late 90s, working on projects for NASA, helping do predictive modeling when they were putting up the International Space Station. We built behavioral models. I was one of those ticket scalpers in my last business that George was talking about in the last keynote. We had predictive behavioral models. We could tell when events were going to sell out 48 hours prior to them selling out. We could fully automate our pricing operation using predictive intelligence. So deep in both technology, entrepreneurship, and artificial intelligence.
Gopal?
Very impressive, David. So my name is Gopal. I represent Infosys here. I'm part of the data and AI business within Infosys, supporting clients in the consumer goods, retail, logistics, and manufacturing segments. Infosys, as if some of you don't know, is a global digital, next generation digital services organization present in over 56 countries. Our purpose is really about amplifying human potential, helping people, societies, and businesses navigate their next. So again, looking forward to this conversation. Okay.
Cool, thank you for the introduction. Let's get into the conversation. So, you know, I'm super excited at the times now. I'm a practitioner as well, so for me, like all of that AI stuff, ML implementation and stuff, has been sort of the norm for a decade plus, I guess, at scale, and even before that. I mean, we're talking about technologies, and some of the technologies exist from the 60s. All of a sudden, OpenAI and some of the conversations that started, what were 18 months ago approximately, right? All of a sudden, like everything exploding, AI, like all this noise all over the place. Can we maybe like explore this a little bit and explain what it is? Like go a little bit like in practical terms, what's actually under the hood? Why is it so exciting? And maybe like how do we make sure that it actually works well for all of us? Who wants to start?
Sure. So see, we all are using our new AI since ChatGPT, right? And everybody is saying ChatGPT, but what does that GPT stands for? Right? It's Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And transformer probably is the most important word there, right? About 4 years ago, Google and Stanford, they introduced this new technology. And what it is a big neural network, right? Think about it like a really sophisticated piece of software where you're now feeding each and every data in the world, right? You know, you have your Wikipedias, you have your videos, right? You have all the internet data, which has been fed to this model. And now this model has got general knowledge about everything, right? That's what this GPT is, right? And now you can think about the use cases that can be developed. If it is a general knowledge about each and every subject, you can take that model and you can fine-tune that model with your own data sets and make it your proprietary model, right? So that is the reason, I mean, we all, as you mentioned, that we were using machine learning and so on, right? But that's like 20 years ago. So actually what is more important in today's age is that GPT, that transformer. And there are a lot of issues, by the way, that this AI is having. You cannot just take it directly, trade it and put it into production. There are biases and hallucinations and all those issues also that needs to be tackled, right? But it's very important to understand what under the hood this technology is, which is this transformers, and what this impact is.
And just to add a little bit to that, I mean, one of the things that's most powerful about the difference between what's called structured learning and or supervised learning, is the old machine learning, is that you had to know what was in the data, right? When I was doing work for NASA, we knew when the shuttle flight was happening, we knew how long it took to get apart, we knew how long it took to refurbish it, how many spacewalks were required, right? You knew exactly what was in the data to be able to project it forward. Think of Excel spreadsheets, right? We knew how to be able to do artificial intelligence with Excel spreadsheets. What GPT or transformer learning unlocked was unstructured data. Think of how much of your business and how much of your enterprise is in email, is in Word documents, is in meeting notes, right? That's unstructured data. We kind of know what's there, right? We kind of know what's in the internet. but we don't really know specifically what's there. And that's the power, is being able to take a set of data and let the machine process it and understand what's in it and do that at scale, right? A human being could conceivably read all of Wikipedia, but it would take multiple lifetimes. A machine can read all of Wikipedia, and it can digest and process that for us and give us insights about it without a human being having to do it. And that's one of the real keys when you think about kind of what this change means for the enterprise.
Yes, building on what David and Ripal are saying, one of the aspects that we commonly are asked is, how do we use this capability responsibly? What is really responsible AI? So I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to unpack that. So if you look at it, there is people, there is process, there's technology, and there's data. This is everything that's going to come together to deliver what we deliver. So how do we bring all of these elements of the ecosystem to act responsibly is really what we should be thinking about, right? So there are a few examples that I wanted to give from our own experience of doing this at Infosys. One of the first things we did is make everybody aware of AI. So we ran programs, what we call as privacy by design, or responsible by design, or secure by design. So how do we ensure that all the 300,000 plus folks that we have in Infosys understand what this technology can do and understand how do you use it responsibly is in itself the first step. Second is how do you make the data that's going to be fueling all of this AI be managed responsibly. So there's a lot of guardrails that you put in terms of what you build in platform capabilities, and Ripal's probably going to touch a little bit about it. How do you ensure that you build these in a more organized and systematic and an intentional way? Third is how do you manage and certify your organizations to be using AI or running processes that leverage AI in a more responsible way. So very recently, Infosys has been one of the first organizations that's been certified by a standard called ISO 42001. So this is for AI, responsible AI management systems and processes. We've also taken the first step to be an inaugural member of the National Institute of AI Safety that's chaired by the US Chamber of Commerce. Again, that's a big step towards trying to help governments and organizations frame policies around this. So again, these are all of what's required for us to deploy this, because we all look at fascinating benefits of what AI and Gen AI can do, but if we don't do these things in an intentional way, we're probably not going to be, we're going to be seeing more risks than benefits of AI.
Cool. So maybe we can take it from that into more practical sort of applications for the business. So just a reflection, what EPAM has been seeing maybe at the first half of the past 18 months was a lot of playing around with tools like GPT itself, obviously, and with some of the stuff that has been launched since, Microsoft Copilots, both Microsoft Copilot, GitHub Copilot, and many other tools. So playing around. Then all of a sudden boards started paying attention and started formulating some strategic initiatives that have the word AI in them, but it's really remained, for the most part at least, at the word level. So they will come to us and say, okay, how do you translate that into actions? What's your experience in this space? Where is, from a business value perspective, where does that translate into actionable value from all of this great stuff that you guys have been talking about?
Sure. So see, if you understand this AI, right, or I wouldn't call AI, we've been calling AI since morning, this large language model or foundation model, right? It can now listen, like it's available, ChatGPT 4.0 is available now on your phone. It can listen to what the conversation is. It can understand, right, think like human being, can talk, right, and can read. So it's a very powerful tool that is available today, right? Now think about the number of use cases that you can implement, right, if you have this kind of technology available, right? So everybody is talking about, like if you look at any business, right, scalability is really important to scale that business, right? How can I really wish that I have 100 new employees in my marketing division or sales division who can keep writing emails or send messages out, right? With this AI, with proper training, you'll be able to have the AI as your co-pilots and will be able to automate those use cases, right? So scaling is one area, right? People now, AI in this GPT-4o, if you look at it, there was a beautiful video about AI tutoring, right? And I was trying it with my 10-year-old son, saying that, hey, you know what, AI, can you prepare like a math test? Do not give him answers, but you know what, nudge him if he's failing or pushing, right? And this AI was able to give the right questions, understand what my son was trying to answer, and going in the directions to teach him the way he should be taught, So in other words, there are potential number of use cases that business can think about, from education to supply chain, we talked about it, from manufacturing, healthcare, and you still can use the same model and work on top of it.
So I'm going to flip this on its head a little bit, because I think we're taking the approach to AI the wrong way, right? We're sitting in the boardroom and we're going, we need AI, we need AI, we need AI. And you go, well, what do you mean? Well, we need it. Like, everybody's got it. Right? And I've seen this pattern before. We all have it, right? I saw it in the late 90s with the web. I saw it again with mobile, right? It's this, we need it, we need it, we need it. Well, for what? And I think the real challenge and the real thing you need to do from an executive leadership perspective is ask, what is the problem you're trying to solve, right? This is a tool. AI at its core is a tool and an enabling technology. You don't start from what tool do I want, right? You want to build a house. You don't start from, I have a hammer, some nails, and some wood. What am I going to do with it? You start from, I need a house. I want a house. And we need to start the dialogue about how we're going to implement AI in the enterprise from the same point. What are the problems we face as a business? How can we utilize this tool to solve those problems, right? That's where the dialogue about finding use cases and finding ways to implement AI, that's where it needs to start.
Brilliant. David, just building on that, one of the things I've been seeing a lot of our clients ask us, how do we pick that first use case? Now that we know we want to solve a business problem with this great capability called AI, how do we pick the first use case? Of course, search, summarization, content generation, image generation, or code generation. That's really core capabilities what GenAI brings. So how do you bring all this together to say, what is it that first problem that we should be looking to solve? Again, we've created a framework which looks at 3 dimensions. One is, of course, business value. So anything that you do, try and tie it to something that is relevant for your enterprise. Like you said, pick a problem that's something that your organization is going to benefit from. Second is, of course, what's the level of effort that's required and how feasible is it for us to solve it. So take things which are easy and are being repeatably adopted. So that's where a lot of your first use cases are around search. How do I search for documents? How do I help my customers find products on websites? Or how do I use my team members? How do I help my team members look for information within the organization? And the third and the most important dimension that we've realized is the likelihood of adoption. Because I heard Chakri talk about the challenges of deploying planning systems. A lot of planners in the organization did not embrace AI earlier also. So what's likelihood that they're going to embrace Gen AI now? So there are ways for us to define through a set of questions and metrics on what's the likelihood of adoption. And only if you're going to build AI systems or AI solutions which have a high likelihood of adoption or high likelihood of being able to trust the output, you're probably going to be investing time and money in actually building them out.
I would like to actually maybe double click on GPT or generative AI or AI maybe broadly as being just a tool. David, as you said, maybe we are actually missing something. Maybe it's not just a tool. I'll sort of from a double click perspective, think about it this way. Before Gen AI, ML was just a tool to analyze numbers. At the end of the day, it's like a statistical approach to analyzing vast amounts of data, not more than that. But all of a sudden, with generative AI, your actual interface has changed. Right now, machine understands you in your native tongue. So that's an experience aspect of the change, not just the tool. Then, obviously, from a data perspective, uncovering, like David, you mentioned this, uncovering all of that depth in the data that, yeah, people can try to read all of Wikipedia or all of whatever we have in the email systems of the corporation, or knowledge bases, or like even on a simple level, just taking like a data room or something like that in the M&A space or whatever else, and try to analyze all of these documents in depth with all of the correlations, all of the cross-references, all of the conflicts and all that stuff. Not possible in the past unless you employ vast number of people. Today, it is possible, so data is actually changing as well. And then obviously technology is this simple change. So what's your perspective on maybe limiting the understanding of GPT and Gen AI in general, just from the tool perspective?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's limiting. I view it as a tool from the perspective of we have a root need that we want to accomplish, right? So when we talk about, so the example I use is the RFP, right? Request for proposal. And the RFP doesn't exist because anyone innately wants an RFP. What people innately want is they want to actually have a fair comparison among vendors, right? So as a tool, GPT enables us to bypass creating a request for proposal. We don't need to create an RFP. Tools like GPT allow us to process a website, an insurance policy, a proposal, bios of the founders, bios of the people who are going to do the work, public market information, and now, to your point, Eli, can now interrogate that information. But at the end of the day, the thing that I need, right, I don't even need the information. I need to make an informed decision and de-risk it. So even as an investor, right, if I'm going to do due diligence using GPT, that due diligence, my goal is to de-risk the investment. And if I can de-risk the investment without technology, if there's ways I can do that, that's my real core goal. And that's where we kind of lose sight at times when we start talking about putting the technology first, is that we forget, like, at the end of the day, I just want to get a fair deal, right? Or I want to be entertained, or I don't want to spend more money than I have to. That's the root goal. And the technology is a path to achieving that goal.
Anyone wants to add?
Sure. So, see, I mean, you're right. I mean, GPT is not just a tool, right? It's a entire kind of a transformer. And if you look at it, it can change your current business processes. It can create new values or new structure within the organizations, new way of selling the product and so on, right? So when we are looking at the use cases, we kind of see that, okay, well, what are the kind of applications that can be developed where we can leverage generative AI to its full extent, right? And right now, if you look at GPT, it's still, you ask a question and you're getting an answer, right? It's still one direction, right? Ideally, a true AI would be more of an agent-centric, where if you give that AI a goal, saying that, okay, well, every day morning, why don't you find 100 leads for me, right? An AI or agent will be smart enough to first of all understand what your ideal customer persona is, right? Based on that ideal customer persona, it will create a pitch for your organization. It will go out on LinkedIn and will find who are the 100 people that matches your persona. Will write or create content personalized for each one of them, right? And go through the entire sales cycle, right? So now if you think about how we are leveraging AI at each and every step in identifying the leads, in generating content, in having that conversation started with them, and then negotiating the contracts. So I think there's an entire new way of thinking about how this new age AI can help the business.
Very, very nicely said. I think if I just were to wrap up what David and Ripal said, so broadly 3 objectives that we see organizations working towards, because we do say there's so many studies that are saying this transformational impact that AI and Gen AI is going to create. So how do you really realize that? Work towards identifying those personas that are really the agents that Vipal said, right? Take up a persona within your organization that could be amplified with AI and Gen AI. Look at how do you enable all of this on a responsible AI platform. And third, reimagine the process itself. Why do we even run an RFP process if there's a way for you to actually do this more effectively and also get to something that's going to have a better impact and a result than what it had in the past. So those are essentially 3 objectives that we see a lot of our clients pursuing. That's really what we've done within our organization too.
Cool, thank you. So let's double click people. You mentioned sort of startups and data, obviously, as well. What we have experienced, and I guess entirely natural, all of the bleeding edge is happening usually at the startups. All of the innovation, both in technology and in process and in approaches and in engineering methodologies, as we have seen from the digital natives and startups, et cetera, happen there. What do you see in that space that is, I guess, slightly different from the typical nomenclature now in the industry talking about AI, Gen AI in a more general way?
So, see, there are, one thing for sure, since GPT got introduced, right, everybody is an entrepreneur, right? They all are thinking that, okay, well, I have this next Facebook idea, I'm gonna take GPT, create a wrapper around it, and then here's an application available, right? And to an extent, it's working, right? But if you think like the startups which are truly changing or utilizing the AI to the fullest extent are the ones which are going after the type of industry where AI is going to make a biggest impact, right? So if you see last 10 years were SaaS age, right? And in my organization, we used to work with many Fortune companies, but they all were technically savvy. They were using all the tools available in the world, and we were helping them to build more tools or bring more tools onto the table. There are still probably 80% of the organizations right now, I won't call it old school, but still there is so much manual work available over there, right? So this AI is really primed for those kind of organizations, right? And they will see leapfrogging, right? You have seen so many countries, right? They went directly from no phones to mobile, right? Or they passed the era of PCs and directly they are now into mobile banking and so on, right? So that's exactly what AI is going to have to do for those kind of industries where they will see a huge impact of this AI by automating all the use cases. So that's one area of the use cases that we are looking at it. And the second is technological gaps where they are, right? So if you think about AI, the biggest problem is hallucination. If you go to ChatGPT, for example, and let's say ask them that who was the only survivor in Titanic, and it will say, okay, well, here's a John Smith, he's the only guy who survived. As a matter of fact, there were hundreds of people. And not only that, it will not only give you factually incorrect answer, it will try to convince you that no, I'm right. Right? In an organization, when you are adopting AI, you cannot have an AI that hallucinates, that will look at the bias data, right? Or AI which cannot be explained. Now that EU Act is coming up and what you are talking about responsible AI, right? So we are looking to build tools or platforms where we know that there will be hundreds and thousands of AIs per company in production. And how can you manage those AIs? How can you monitor and make sure that the AI is giving you right decisions, right? Earlier in software, we used to get 404 error. Something is wrong and we know we need to fix it. In AI, that's not the case. It will keep on giving you output. But how do you know that the output generated by AI is the right output or not? Right? So there are some areas, those are the type of companies that we really look at and try to build the technologies around them.
So I think one of the categories that we find most exciting is, I would characterize what are we not doing today because it's not cost effective and it's not scalable. One of the things that's amazing about AI is that even with its limitations of hallucinations, and it has its limitations well beyond hallucinations, but even with the current limitations of technology, it now is this 24/7 intelligence, even if it's a primitive intelligence, that can start to do the things that we haven't been able to do in the past. And we haven't gotten to that point yet. We haven't started to think through the use cases that, we think through what are we doing now that we could do faster, or what are we doing now that we could do more efficiently. But we're excited about the entrepreneurs that are thinking through the use cases that involve, hey, we're not doing this whole suite of things. And one of the most common examples I use is generally in education, where stats came out recently that fundamentally 1 in 3 kids in North Texas in the 4th grade does not read at grade level. In my purview, right, that is not doing something. We are not properly educating our children in North Texas. The opportunity for AI is to do that thing we're not doing. And that's a massive market opportunity, and it doesn't take away anyone's job, right? Those are the things that we get most excited about, is where can we use AI to do the things that we're not doing?
Brilliant. So again, I'll share a perspective from what we as Infosys would do. We are an ecosystem integrator. So we've got a group within Infosys called Center for Emerging Technologies. What we do there is scan the market for such investors and such startups who are working on creating these very fascinating, putting all of these fascinating ideas to work, and bring them together to solve business problems for our clients, right? So it is, again, it's what we call as the Infosys Innovation Network. So that's really where we want to create a network of startups and investors like you who could be promoting startups that could potentially be given a much bigger stage and a canvas, which is essentially all the global clients that we service, to solve their problems in a more efficient way.
Cool, thank you. So for the final question, we're pretty much out of time. Simple predictions. Just let's not go into like 18 months. Let's do 3, 6, 9 maybe. What do you see happening in terms of the technology itself evolving, maybe the adoption through the startups and through the enterprise space?
Sure. I think that's one question we get all the time, right? What do you predict? And
we're on all the time as well.
We all will be, right? So I think every single day, right, this AI is getting smarter, and I think that we are at a point where in near future it will go into this self-learning mode. Like, we don't need large amount of data to train this AI again and again, right, based on the interactions which user is taking, right? I mean, I'll give you a phone analogy. I mean, your phone is dictating your life these days. I mean, you get notifications and then you know, okay, well, I need to do this, right? Same way with AI, right? With AI, I'm learning about what you're doing, right? Understanding what the emotions are, right? A very good example, as a matter of fact, when I was playing GPT-4o with my son, the very first thing he said that I really like this because I can hear AI breathing, right? So not only like talking, but he thinks that AI is real, right? Because there are emotions, the way it was talking and so on. So I think there's a lot of advancements going on in those areas, right? Certain sectors like medical probably would be another great example right now. Understanding your body, right? There's a lot of research going on, and generative AI is playing a big role in it, where now personalized medications can also be a part of it, right? So then probably we don't need this AI conference. Maybe a moderator and speaker can be an AI, and that can be a future as well for us.
Well, I'll agree with that last point about there not needing to be an AI conference, just like we don't have a web conference, just like we don't have a mobile conference. What is going to happen, and it's going to happen on the 3, 6, 9 months, what's going to happen in the year 2024, you will cease to see me on a panel talking about AI, because we're going to cease talking about it as a separate third-party element. What's going to happen over the course of this year is we're going to get down to the brass tacks of what can this technology do. It's going to permeate everything that we do, just like our mobile phone. How much do we think about our mobile phone, but how much does that affect what we do on a daily basis? Mobile is a part of everything we do. Web is a part of everything that we do. We don't have conferences dedicated to it because it's just become part of the fabric of how we conduct business. And that's what's going to happen with AI. It's going to become part of the fabric of how we conduct business and become part of the fabric of our daily lives. We're no longer going to think about it as this third-party other. It's just going to happen behind the scenes.
Absolutely. If I take an enterprise view, I think like what we see with all of the consumerization of AI, I think the end goal, at least in the next 6 to 9 months, should be, can all of these POCs that have got started everywhere, can they actually make it to production, and can this truly democratize adoption of AI? So that's really what I would love to see, saying, can we really see processes embracing AI? Can we see organizations really realizing the transformational impact that AI has been promising of revenue growth, cost efficiencies, and new revenue models? So that's really what I would love to see happening with our clients, where they benefit from all those benefits that are being promised.
If I may quickly, just to summarize, I think this last point, the organizations today, and what we have about 10-digit investment in AI space today, in trillion something, right? Approximately, like worldwide, approximately. So we're probably going to get some very fast-paced change imminently, right? And from an enterprise perspective, of course, there is like all of that existing enterprise process and all that stuff that needs to be rethought to actually apply AI properly. So maybe we are just seeing this initial phase of skepticism and denial in the adoption of AI, but real organizations probably need to very quickly get past that. Am I reading it correctly?
Yes, I agree. And that's that huge step that they need to take in terms of moving from working on POCs to actually being bold enough to take it to production. And that's where all of the capabilities that we spoke about in terms of being responsible, being able to measure hallucinations, how do you really trust what's going to come out, and can this really become an autonomous system? That's really where I would see this headed.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Upal. David, Upal, thank you very much for...
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks again to our panelists and to our moderator. Well, that concludes our AI conference. Thank you all for being here, for your support. Thank you to our sponsors for their support, for making this a success. And we do have our afternoon networking session still going on outside, so please feel free to mingle. I know we have some of our speakers still in attendance, so please feel free to connect with them. Hope to see y'all back next year. Hopefully I'll still be in person, and AI is not going to be, there's not going to be a robot. I hope to see y'all in person as well. But look forward to staying in touch with everyone, and thank you again for making our AICon 2024 a success.